Welcome to Alaska Weather, a production of Alaska Public Media and the National Weather Service, Alaska Region. Produced and broadcast daily from the studios of KAKM, Alaska Weather provides complete forecasts, public, marine, and aviation for all of Alaska. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
It's never too early to set expectations and goals for your child's education. The UA College Savings Plan provides opportunities that can help you reach your educational savings goals. Save in Alaska. Study anywhere. There is more information available by calling 1-888, the number 4, and then Alaska. This message sponsored by the UA College Savings Plan.
The National Weather Service.
Hello everyone, and thanks again for joining us for Monday's edition of Alaska Weather. I'm Dave Percy. On the satellite imagery here of the Northwest Pacific, Kamchatka Peninsula there, Tokyo, Japan down in this area, Sakhalin Island. Right in there we've got a front and low pressure here off the Kamchatka coastline near the Komodorskis, pushing a front in toward the eastern or the western Aleutians towards Shemya, seeing the winds and rain spread into that area with storminess starting to move into the southwest Bering Sea. And this first low is going to make its way across the Bering Sea into just off the southwest coast for Wednesday. And another one back out here will be moving into the western Bering Sea, an even stronger one. They'll probably bring some storm force southwesterlies into the far western Aleutians around Shemya and Attu, with gales across the central areas to Atka Island. Again, that'll be during the day on Wednesday. And rolling that through again, you can see a lot of cloudiness here sliding southeastward across Bristol Bay, and another trough right up through here from the Pribilof Islands up to St. Lawrence Island. And that cloud feature right through here you can see moving southeastward. Also had an area of storminess here, upper level system dropping southeastward. That brought some isolated thunderstorms to the eastern Aleutians this morning with strong gale force winds out of the north. That has now shifted off to the southeast. And then we had that stronger storm moving into the Panhandle this afternoon, right in this area, or actually this morning, pulling inland this afternoon, with winds swinging around to the northwest and diminishing, and that brought a fair amount of rain into the southern southeast coast during the day today. Let's see, Ketchikan, Heidelberg and Metlakatla all had an inch or more of rain, with Ketchikan picking up almost an inch and a half, as by contrast amounts to the north were much lighter, only 0.02 of an inch at Juneau. And then the snow that fell over Misty Fjords with 6 to 8 inches falling towards Heidelberg, and then anywhere from 3 to 6 inches across areas of the central southeast coast, and then some scattered snow showers in the Gulf of Alaska, and then areas of flurries here from northwest Canada across the Northway area, all the way up into the mid-Tanana Valley, but very light amounts, just cloudiness in that area, and also cloudy skies here over the southwest interior with some areas of flurries there. A little bit clearer up here over the northwest and north central interior, and then some light snow and fog along mostly the central and eastern Arctic coast. And then back out to the west, we have this low center near St. Lawrence Island, the trough dropping there, bringing a little bit of light snow into the Pribilof this afternoon, kind of a band extending back up across St. Lawrence Island there. And then way out there on the edge of the picture, that's where the next storm, which tonight will be pushing gale force winds in across the western Aleutians, with the rain advancing eastward, approaching Adak late tonight. Otherwise, this system slides off to the southeast, so that'll bring a chance of snow showers here along the southwest coast, Bethel on up towards St. Mary's overnight, and that'll be slipping on into the Alaska Peninsula, mostly missing the eastern Aleutians there. Most of that moisture will stay off to your east there. And then northwest winds, still a little gusty here, Kodiak Island, and in the channeled areas of south central Alaska along the North Gulf Coast areas. Seeing gusts today up to 35 miles an hour out of the north at Seward, while Whittier had westerly winds gusting up to 50 miles an hour or more. Still got this low lingering in the Gulf of Alaska. It'll be scattered snow showers in that area associated with that. The next system here moving quite rapidly eastward, and by late tonight, early tomorrow morning, it'll be moving into the Queen Charlotte Island area, so most of the moisture should stay over Dixon Entrance and south. Just looking at some scattered snow showers over the Panhandle. Mostly cloudy skies, areas of flurries up over the northeast interior, eastern Arctic coast. Could see some clearing back out here to the west, and will remain clear and quite cold again, with temperatures running 5 to 25 below zero, with the coldest areas up in the Susitna Valley there around the Willow area, and some clearing over the Copper River Basin, but still that trapped moisture there over the eastern Tanana Valley area, the upper Tanana Valley, Northway and Tok, but that should stay south of Eagle. And then forecasting, or to look at the forecast for tomorrow, still have this low center in the Gulf of Alaska, good westerly flow in across the Panhandle there, but cold air, freezing levels as the cold air moves in, with the jet stream shifting southward, so we should have snow levels right down to sea level here. So scattered snow showers all across the Panhandle tomorrow and back out into the Gulf of Alaska, and still a band of moisture there from Canada slipping on into the upper Tanana Valley areas. Could be some flurries around Eagle. Otherwise, another mostly sunny day and quite cold Copper River Basin, south central Alaska areas. Not too bad for Kodiak Island. Less in the way of winds and continued dry conditions. A little more clearing hopefully tomorrow here out over the southwest part of the state, with high pressure keeping winds light and skies variably cloudy through the interior right up to the Arctic coast. Still a risk of some flurries over toward Kaktovik. And then that next system here pushing eastward, pushing snow changing to rain, or rain and mixed snow there for the Pribilof Islands as the front approaches, and then warmer air on the southwest winds in advance of the system, spreading rain into the eastern Aleutians. And then colder air coming back around will drop the snow levels and bring some scattered snow showers out over the western Bering. Otherwise, St. Lawrence Island, east winds about 15 miles an hour with some chances of snow shower conditions there. And then we'll see, looking ahead to Wednesday, we'll see quite a system pushes into the southwest coast, that first low center there, just north of Nunivak Island, and the front driving inland on some good westerly winds aloft, and that'll spread some snow eastward, possibly late in the afternoon across south central Alaska. Chances of snow increase, just a chance at this point. It may get cut off at the Alaska range, but we could see snow spreading over much of the southwest interior. Easterly winds on the increase there for Norton Sound. In fact, gale force easterlies for St. Lawrence Island. Could be some blowing snow through these areas here. And then rain in the warmer air down over the Alaska Peninsula. Warm front mixing, could start out as snow at Kodiak Island, be pretty light, but then that'll mix with rain. And then again, all rain back to the eastern Aleutians, and then more rain and gusty gale force winds with that front as it comes into the central Aleutians, and then the pretty strong low center back over the western areas. Look for some storm force southwesterlies, possibly as high as 55 knots. And the Pribilofs there right on the rain and snow line, with snow to the north, rain to the south there. But fair conditions here, high pressure shifting over into the northwest Canadian areas there along the Alcan border. To stay mostly clear over the Copper River Basin, and that'll extend up over the Tanana Valley into the northwest interior areas. And this low finally shifts inland over the southeast coast there, and that's going to, with a high up over the Yukon and the lower pressure over the central areas, that'll bring some pretty cold air into the northern Panhandle on Wednesday, with scattered snow showers mostly over the central and southern areas there, but nothing that's going to amount to too much the way it looks at this point in time. And temperatures down that way today were in the mid to upper 30s there, near 40, but not quite making it there over the southern areas. 31 this afternoon at Yakutat, while Juneau had 34, 19 in Cordova, and 16 at Valdez. Copper River Basin in that 5 below to 10 below range. Squintna at 11 below this afternoon. Anchorage at 6. 9 degrees in Kenai, 19 down at Homer. Upper 20s for Kodiak Island. And temperatures below zero across the Tanana Valley, with Fairbanks at minus 11. And even colder where the skies were a little clearer back here up over the northwest and north interior areas. Anatuvik minus 24. 15 below at Ambler, and 8 below there at Tanana. Up along the Arctic coast, a little above zero on the eastern coast, and below zero here for the central and western areas. That's Point Lay with 18 below, minus 15 at Kotzebue this afternoon. And one of the colder spots in the state this morning was at Kiana with 30 degrees below zero. Otherwise this afternoon, Golovin had minus 6. That same temperature recorded at Unalakleet, 4 degrees in Nome. And over at McGrath, 0. But Sparrowvon at minus 3. Single numbers here over the Yukon Delta, lower Yukon Valley areas, and the Kuskokwim Delta with teens out along the coastline. St. Lawrence Island, Savunga, 16 degrees. A little above freezing there at St. Paul, but St. George, 27. Upper 20s to mid 30s for the Alaska Peninsula here, and mostly in the upper 20s or the upper 30s for the central Aleutians. Lower 40s as that warmer southwest wind blew into the far western areas there at Shimia. And then 10 degrees at King Salmon. And looking at the lows tonight, again, well below zero from the Arctic coast all the way down into the Kuskokwim Valley areas, Copper River Basin, 15 to 25 below zero there, and below zero here for south central Alaska as well, with teens down along the coast. 20s to mid 30s there for the Panhandle. And the highs for tomorrow staying below zero there from about the Susitna Valley, Copper River Basin areas northward, in the 10 to 15 or 20 below range through this area. A little milder up along the Arctic coast. Teens here along the southwest coast, but near 30 at Macoriac. Forecast high of 40 for St. Paul, and 30s to near 40 for the Alaska Peninsula. Milder 40s out over the Aleutians. And for flying weather, pretty good VFR. Again, along Cook Inlet, low clouds and patchy fog near the inlet there tonight and into early tomorrow. Otherwise, VFR for the North Gulf Coast, areas of marginal VFR for the Panhandle, and some IFR here for the eastern Arctic coast at times, with marginal VFR back to the west, and that'll cover much of the north slope right down to the Brooks Range. And eastern interior could see some marginal conditions continuing there at times, and then that IFR area coming in from the central Aleutians, spreading in toward the Fox Islands there. That'll be advancing toward the Pribilofs and even slipping in here to just west of Nunivak Island. Passes looking pretty good. Anatuvik could see some possible marginal VFR in the northern approach, otherwise VFR. And that same pattern also holding for Adigan as well. Lake Clark and Merrill, VFR tomorrow, rainy VFR, windy VFR, and Isabel, both Isabel, Isabel anyway, possible marginal VFR in the northern entrance there, otherwise to the south VFR. Mentasta looks marginal, and for Tanita, going VFR again. Portage, good VFR. Chilkoot and White, optimistically VFR conditions tomorrow. And for the freezing levels, at the surface here, just north of the Pribilofs, down to about Kodiak Island, up along the North Gulf Coast areas, and then on down to the southeast, and 2,000 to 4,000 feet here, kind of nudging back up toward the Queen Charlottes as that next system rolls by to the south of the Panhandle, and then a little bit warmer out here over the western Aleutians with those southwesterly winds ahead of that frontal system. Again, that ridge will be shifting eastward during the day tomorrow. And with that icing here, again, light to isolated moderate rime, below about 12,000 feet with all the moisture coming into the central Bering Sea, and that could advance up toward the southwest coast in the afternoon and then swinging back down across the eastern Aleutians and then exiting the Adak area. And then for the southeast coast, areas of mixed icing here, below about 8,000 to 9,000 feet, could be a little heavier here off the coast. And then another batch of moisture coming down across Bristol Bay tonight with that trough will bring a chance of icing to Kodiak Island. And then probably by afternoon, that'll be off to your east and southeast. Upper level wind flow chart showing upper low pressure today over the central interior. That's going to slip on down to the Copper River Basin. And when those lows take a track like that, that usually brings the coldest weather, to southern Alaska right out to the North Gulf Coast. Otherwise, we've got a jet here coming across the Bering about 60 to 80 knots, and where the southern branch and this northern one converge, we've got a very strong 160 knot jet, but that's heading in toward the Queen Charlotte Islands. So the southeast coast, all of the Panhandle is on the cold side of the jet, and that's going to keep it kind of unsettled with snow showers the next couple of days. And for the 9,000 foot winds, 22, 30 knot winds here up to 45 knots south of Kodiak Island, coming across the Gulf and then back in across the southeast coast at roughly at about 20. Lighter winds with general area of high pressure here along the west coast. And then those stronger winds, 30 to 50 knots over the southwest Bering and heading in toward the central Aleutians. 3,000 feet, showing this pretty strong low out here over the western Bering Sea with 35 to 50 knot winds circulating around that low center. Westerlies 30 to 40 knots over the western Aleutians with 35 knot winds all the way over to about Nikolsky. Lighter here under high pressure along the west coast and Alaska Peninsula. North to northeast flow 10 to 15 knots across the eastern interior, but up to 25 knots there for the Kenai Peninsula. Good northwest winds. The strongest winds will be east of Kodiak Island, and they'll be kind of cutting into the south with lighter winds from the southwest at about 5 to 15 over the Panhandle. Turbulence-wise, pretty smooth for the southeast coast, but mechanical turbulence of the possible moderate variety here along the North Gulf Coast, western Prince William Sound, and from Kamishak Bay across the Barrens and all of Kodiak Island, looking for possible occasional widespread turbulence tomorrow below about 4,000 to 6,000 feet. And then an area of turbulence coming in with that next front into the central Aleutians, advancing toward the Pribilofs. And again, that whole area will be continuing to push eastward to the southwest coast late tomorrow night and Wednesday. And after the break, I'll be back with a look at the marine forecasts.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Mary O'Connor with the Alaskan Aviation Safety Foundation and the National Institute for Occupational Safety and Health. We are grateful to Alaska Public Media and their sponsors for allowing us to bring you Hangar Flying. This evening, we are pleased to have Kate Jaranitsky back on our show. Welcome back, Kate.
Thank you.
Kate has recently successfully completed another stage in her flight training. Congratulations on your commercial rating, Kate.
Thanks.
We mentioned last time that you're fully immersed in aviation. You're taking classes towards an aviation degree, and you're working at a local flight school.
That's correct.
So what are your duties at the flight school?
Well, kind of like any flight school, I push airplanes around, get to fill them up, help students out with their ground if they're planning a cross-country flight. I am an advanced ground instructor, so that helps out a little bit. I update the Facebook page, I update the website, I send out emails for people, answer the phones, have people walk in and ask questions, so I help them out a lot.
You pretty much do it all.
Yes, I keep adding to the list.
And you mentioned that you are going to be working on your instructor's rating next, so at that point you will be doing it all.
Yes.
Are you going to be doing that locally, or are you planning on going out of state for that?
I actually am probably going to be going out of state for that rating as well.
And what do you think you need to do in advance of getting to the flight school in preparation?
I'm probably going to be doing a lot of my ground with both my private and instrument instructor before I leave. And I'm going to be doing a lot of flying in the 172 that we have at Skytrack, just to get the basics, the maneuvers down of flying in the right seat and talking aloud and teaching students how to fly from that right seat. So I'll be doing a lot of that before I go down to Minnesota.
So you're going to go back to the same school?
Yes, I do believe so.
Oh, good. Do you think that this will fit in with your long-term career goals? Having a CFI is definitely a way to build hours. Is that something that you see yourself doing long-term?
I see myself doing it for as long as I'm flying. I really enjoy teaching students just on a one-on-one basis on the ground, so I think I'll have a lot of fun teaching them in air as well. I also want to fly for the majors, and so during my time off, who knows, I might just be back at Skytrack teaching other students how to fly.
That's a good way to keep it fun.
It is.
I do hear from a lot of pilots that work for a major airline that they miss the small airplane side of things.
Mm-hmm.
So keeping your feet on both sides would be ideal.
Yes.
And I guess if you could tell us how working at a flight school gives you benefits as far as not just your paycheck, but in terms of piloting and what you're learning, being around other students, and how does that help make you a better pilot?
The students that we have come in are completely different from one another. So I get to see both of my instructors teaching in different styles, in different ways. And so I pick up on that, and I'm able to learn from them and their different teaching styles about how to teach maybe a particular student that is having a problem with, say, cross-country flight planning.
And do you think that you will get your instrument instructor certificate as well? Is that something you're interested in?
That's something I'm definitely interested in. I love instrument flying. I like everything very clean and by the numbers, and so instrument flying is just that style of flying that's very just clean.
And it definitely has some different ways that you can exercise means of instruction because a lot of the concepts are very different from what a private pilot would learn.
It is, yes.
And you did your instrument rating in Alaska?
I did both my private and instrument rating in Alaska. At Skytrack, I did my private pilot's license last October, got it, and Jamie Patterson-Sims was my instructor for that, learned in a Cessna 150, and then Zachary Garner was my instrument instructor in a Cessna 172, both at Skytrack. They graduated 20 years apart at Embry-Riddle, so they both have completely different teaching styles, which is a lot of fun to see that as well.
Wow, that's great. Well, it sounds like it's so recent that it should be fresh in your mind for when you're getting your CFII. So
Yeah.
good luck to you.
Thank you.
Kate, thanks so much for taking time out of your busy day and coming here to talk to us. We appreciate it.
Not a problem.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to thank Alaska Public Media for their support of hangar flying and the Alaskan Aviation Safety Foundation, whose support makes this program possible. We're excited to showcase people as they get started in their aviation careers because they are the future of aviation. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching Hangar Flying. Fly safely.
Welcome back. Well, today's sea ice analysis showing some new ice here from Kuskokwim Bay up along the Yukon Delta coast. And with the storminess coming in later this week, or actually Wednesday through Friday, this area will probably vanish due to the winds and wave action. Up here for the Chukchi Sea, the forecast is for a general southward movement or expansion of the ice up there of 15 to 30 nautical miles by Saturday. Moving on to the coastal wind forecast here over the inside waters, northwesterlies of 15 tomorrow, north 25 for Lynn Canal. Small craft advisories on the south coast and kind of a mixed wind condition there for the north coast, northeast of 15 and then southwest of 20. For the Wednesday forecast, small craft advisory westerlies here for most of the coastline except up in the north there. And southeast 20 knots for Clarence Strait, variable to south 15 there for Stevens Passage. And for Lynn Canal, north 25, that's going to be a cold wind there as Arctic air slips down into the northern panhandle. And for the Cook Inlet forecast, northern Cook Inlet, pretty light winds tomorrow, but increasing here to 35 knot northwesterlies for the Barrens and Kamishak Bay and the Barren Islands, also Kodiak Island, 30 to 35 knots out of the northwest. Small craft advisories for the North Gulf Coast and northeast 15 for Prince William Sound. And the outlook for Wednesday, lighter winds southwest at about 20 there for Kodiak Island, and northerlies 20 to 30 knots here for the western Gulf Coast and the Barren Islands, northeast 20 Kamishak Bay up into southern Cook Inlet, and winds diminishing to 10 knots out of the north for Prince William Sound. Bristol Bay northwest at 20, westerlies 20 to 25 knots for the Alaska Peninsula tomorrow, and Sitkinak to Sand Point northwest at about 30. And then we've got southwest small craft advisories here for the peninsula, and those will extend all the way up to Kodiak Island at about 30 knots. Lighter winds for Bristol Bay, southwest at 20 there. And then southwest, 30 to 35 knots here for the eastern Aleutians, and then gales for the central Aleutians, small craft advisories, and then back into the westerly gales here for the far western Aleutians. And then it looks like with that pretty intense low center right up in this area on Wednesday, southwesterlies 55 knots for the western areas, and then strong gales here right into the central Aleutians. Small craft advisories 25 to 30 knots southwesterlies there for the eastern Aleutians. For the southwest coast, south of Nunivak Island, especially early in the day tomorrow, northwest 25, shifting around a little in the afternoon. Winds becoming south at 25 for the Perbilofs, easterlies 30 for the northern Bering Sea. And then we've got a lot of gales in store for the southwest coast. East 35 knots, increasing to 45 knots over the northern Bering Sea areas, and a southwesterly gale right into Kuskokwim Bay. And for the Arctic coast, east side, east, west to northwest, 10 to 15 knots. Pretty light for the central coast, variable at 20 knots here for the Cape Thompson to Cape Beaufort, otherwise northeast 20. And the outlook for Wednesday, easterly winds 20 knots here from Wales up to Cape Thompson. Lighter winds off the north or the western areas here. South 20 knots for the western Arctic coast as well as over toward Barrow. And then lighter, more west-southwesterly breezes there for the east side. And for tonight, again, another storm system that's currently forming out in this area this evening. It'll be moving quite rapidly eastward to the Queen Charlottes. That's going to leave the southeast coast and some scattered snow showers this evening. Still a chance of snow up around Tok and Northway. Otherwise clear and cold, well below zero south central Alaska, the Sinton Valley, as well as the Copper River Basin and much of the interior, with this area of snow showers sliding southeastward into Bristol Bay and the Alaska Peninsula. And that will shift off into the Gulf for tomorrow. Snow showers for the Panhandle, and that next system bringing the wind, milder temperatures into the Bering Sea with rain. High pressure shifts in over the interior, still dry and cold over the south. With the outlook for Wednesday, we've got a lot of moisture driving eastward into southern Alaska.
These forecasts are to be used for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
The National Weather Service.